The station was alive with the usual chaos, voices echoing, trains whistling, luggage wheels scraping against the stone floor. But for Elena, time seemed to move differently. Each tick of the clock above the station doors was a reminder of how long she had been waiting. 3 days, 72 hours, each one heavier than the last. She clutched the handle of her small brown suitcase, the one she had carried with hope in her heart when she first stepped into this very place. She had come here to meet Daniel, the man who had promised her a future, who had sworn under the moonlight that he would return and never let her wait alone again. But he didn't come. Not on the first day. Not on the second. And now not on the third. The people around her shifted. Families reunited with tearful hugs. Businessmen rushing to their appointments. Lovers embracing as if the world stopped spinning for them. Elena watched it all with a hollow chest, wondering if anyone noticed the woman sitting by herself on the wooden bench, waiting for someone who would never arrive. Her heart still wrestled with disbelief. Daniel's words had sounded so sincere, his touch so reassuring. But reality had a way of peeling away illusions, leaving behind only sharp edges. By the third evening, Elena's reflection in the station's glass window looked as tired as her soul. Dark circles rimmed her eyes and her lips were pale, bitten from nervous waiting. Yet she stayed, because hope, no matter how fragile, had chained her there. And that was when the sound of tiny boots tapped against the station floor. She looked down. A little girl, no older than 6, stood in front of her. Her coat was too big for her small frame, buttoned unevenly, and her red boots had scuff marks as if they had walked miles. In her hands, she clutched a stuffed rabbit with one ear half torn. Elena blinked in surprise. "Hello, sweetheart. Are you lost?" The child shook her head, her eyes large and filled with a strange mixture of innocence and sadness, fixed on Elena. "No, I was looking for you." Elena's chest tightened. "For me?" she asked, her voice soft. The girl nodded. She took a small step closer, her boots tapping once more against the cold floor. "You've been waiting here for a long time." Elena felt a lump rise in her throat. How long had this little one been watching her? "Yes," she admitted, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I was waiting for someone." The girl tilted her head, studying her carefully, as though she could read Elena's entire story written across her tired features. Then with a voice so tender it broke the silence around them, she said, "He's not coming back, is he?" The words struck Elena like a knife. Her lips trembled, but she couldn't bring herself to answer. Tears burned behind her eyes, threatening to fall. The little girl hugged her stuffed rabbit tightly, as if bracing herself. Then she whispered, "If he doesn't want you, will you marry my daddy instead?" Elena froze. The station noises faded, the people blurred, and only the child's small, pleading face remained in her world. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came. The child's question was so unexpected, so innocent, that her heart stumbled between shock and something she couldn't yet name. Your daddy?" Elena finally managed, her voice trembling. The girl nodded quickly, determination in her eyes. "Yes, my daddy is good. He fixes my boots when they tear, and he makes soup when I'm sick. But he's always sad. I think he needs someone to make him smile again." The honesty in her words pierced Elena deeper than anything Daniel had ever told her. This child, with her worn boots and stuffed rabbit, spoke a truth that was both heartbreaking and strangely hopeful. Elena felt her tears spill over at last. She reached out slowly, brushing a hand across the girl's cheek. "What's your name, little one?" The girl's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Lila." And just like that, Elena's 3 days of waiting didn't feel wasted anymore. Because maybe, just maybe, the person she had been waiting for wasn't Daniel after all. Elena sat frozen on the bench, her mind still circling around the little girl's words. "Will you marry my daddy instead?" The question was too big, too raw to have come from such a small mouth. Yet Lila's eyes held a wisdom born not from age but from loss, and that alone made Elena's heart ache. "Where's your daddy, Lila?" Elena asked gently. The child pointed across the platform where a man stood by the corner of the station cafe. He looked weary, his shoulders hunched beneath a faded gray coat. His hands were shoved deep into his pockets as if he carried the weight of the world there. He hadn't noticed them yet. His eyes stared at the ground, his jaw tight, as though smiling had become something foreign. "That's him," Lila whispered proudly. "His name is James. He takes care of me all by himself." The words struck Elena. She rose slowly, curiosity pulling her forward, and walked with Lila toward the man. As they approached, James lifted his head. His eyes, stormy gray with flecks of exhaustion, met Elena's, and for a moment, the world fell still again. She recognized in him the same loneliness she carried, the same silent ache of being left behind. "Lila," he said, his voice low but warm, "where have you been?" "With her." Lila tugged on Elena's hand, proudly pulling her forward. "Daddy, this is the lady I told you about. The one who's been waiting." James looked confused. "Waiting?" His eyes flicked to Elena, and his voice softened. "I'm sorry if my daughter disturbed you." Elena shook her head quickly. "No, she didn't. She kept me company when I needed it most." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Elena could feel the weight of everything unsaid, the story of his struggles, her broken promises, the invisible scars they both carried. Finally, James sighed. "I suppose she asked you something bold, didn't she?" "She has a way of speaking her heart without fear." Elena let out a shaky laugh. "You could say that." Lila grinned, completely unaware of the storm her words had stirred. She clutched her rabbit tighter and declared, "I told her you needed someone to make you smile again, Daddy." James closed his eyes briefly, his expression pained. "Lila," but Elena's heart softened. She knelt beside the little girl, brushing a hand through her hair. "You're very brave, you know that? And I think your daddy is lucky to have you." When she stood again, her eyes met James's. Something passed between them, unspoken, delicate, but real. He cleared his throat. "She doesn't understand that love isn't something you can just hand to someone. It takes time. Trust." "I know," Elena said softly. "But sometimes children see what we're too afraid to admit." For the first time, his lips twitched into the smallest of smiles. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make Lila beam. The station lights flickered as an announcement echoed through the hall. A train pulled in, doors opening with a metallic hiss. Passengers shuffled past them, but Elena stood still, realizing her journey had changed. 3 days ago, she had been waiting for a man who never came. Now, standing before James and Lila, she felt as though she had been waiting for this all along. James shifted awkwardly. "I don't know what she told you, but I've been alone since my wife passed. It's been hard. For both of us." His voice cracked slightly at the end. Elena's chest tightened. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He nodded, looking at Lila, who was still holding tightly onto her rabbit. "She deserves more than just my tired attempts. She deserves laughter, warmth, someone who can fill the spaces I can't." Elena's throat ached, tears threatening once more. She wanted to tell him she understood, because she did. She knew the ache of abandonment, the sting of broken promises, the hollow spaces left behind. Instead, she reached for Lila's hand again and smiled faintly at James. Maybe you don't have to do it alone anymore." For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then slowly his hand reached out, covering hers. The touch was gentle, hesitant, but real. And in that moment, Elena felt the station around her fade into silence. 3 days of waiting had brought her heartbreak, but it had also led her here, to a man who carried his pain with quiet strength, and to a child who believed in love enough to offer it to a stranger. And maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something neither of them had expected, but both desperately needed.